Scooby! 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 What's up and welcome to another episode of Gizmo Slip. Today we're talking about the iPhone 12 Pro Max. I have had this since the day it was released, I believe November 13th. So I think that's 21 days approximately that I've owned this thing and been using it as my daily driver. And I've got my thoughts together about it and I'm finally ready to give you my review of the 12 Pro Max. So let's dive right into it. So when I first got the 12 Pro Max, it was a bit of a challenge and I had to get used to the increased size and boxiness for one-handed use. Things that I could reach before easily on the 11 Pro Max, I had to change up my hand gestures to be able to reach on the 12 Pro Max. Now, of course, we are going from a 6.5 inch display to a 6.7 inch display, so we do have more screen real estate to enjoy our favorite apps and videos and movies and websites and whatever else you're doing on your phone. I personally love the design for the 12 Pro Max. I got the silver version and it is just super chromed out. Yes, it is a bit of a fingerprint magnet at times, but clearing the fingerprints off of it is actually really simple. Just one swipe of your hand, fingerprints gone, or down the shirt, and again, fingerprints are gone. Oh man, I've got a lot of hair on me just from bouncing around with the dogs for like a minute. Now I gotta give a huge shout out to Into the AM for sponsoring this episode. They've got some freaking awesome shirts over on their site, and they're not just awesome to look at, they also seem higher quality than your average t-shirt. Not only is the fabric higher quality, a bit thicker and softer than most t-shirts, the prints are vibrant and very colorful, and they seem like they're probably gonna last through a few more washes than your average print. They were kind enough to give 20% off to Gizmo Slip fans, and just for today only, they're doing a 30% off sale. So if you're looking for some awesome, high quality t-shirts with some interesting designs that blend between nature, science, and art, space themes, they've got some really cool designs. Go check them out. Link in the description down below. Let's get on with this review. Now the 12 Pro Max's camera bump on the back is noticeably larger, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Just know that when you set it against a surface, it's gonna stick out a little bit more than the previous generations. Now the battery life on the 12 Pro Max has been pretty insane, just as insane as the 11 Pro Max. Honestly, we have new 5nm chip, the A14 Bionic is very power efficient. So even though we have a slightly smaller battery size in the 12 Pro Max versus the 11 Pro Max, we are getting just as much battery life from it. Now on average, I had over half of my battery life left at the end of each day, but it does depend heavily upon what I'm doing in each day. Like if I'm playing a lot of games on my phone, I might actually get close to killing it in one day. But if I'm primarily just reading ebooks and watching YouTube videos and stuff like that, the battery life is just a marathoner. Now I actually didn't charge my phone for 3 days in a row. On the first day I had my phone on for 4 hours and 38 minutes, the second day 2 hours and 11 minutes, and on the third day 5 hours and 20 minutes, meaning I did 3 days of standby time and a total of 12 hours and 19 minutes. That is insane considering you're mixing the standby time in with the screen on time. Now keep in mind, I do read a lot of books on the Kindle app and I do use the white text over a black background, so that is very battery efficient, especially with an OLED display. Now the speakers in the 12 Pro Max are quite amazing. They are really impressive for a smartphone. Of course, there are Android phones that have just as good as speakers as the 12 Pro Max. I compared the speakers in the 12 Pro Max to the laptop speakers in most of these laptops that I review over on my tech channel, and it's amazing. The top speakers in smartphones outperform like most laptop speakers in a much larger chassis, which to me absolutely does not make any sense at all. Like the laptop, people really need to step up their game, I guess, in my opinion. I don't know. The nice thing about the speakers on this phone is that even if you cover up the bottom speakers, the top speaker is still quite loud, allowing you to hear whatever audio you're listening to still quite clearly. Now I do have the MagSafe charger right here. This allows you to quickly wirelessly charge your device at 15 watts of power, which is about the max bandwidth that you can do with wireless charging. Now, if you bring the MagSafe to the back of the phone, it does snap to it, and it is strong enough to hold your phone entirely through the magnetic connection. Now, the issue I have is when I pick up the phone in the morning, I forget that there's a MagSafe still magnetically attached, and what happens is the cable pulls off as I lift up the phone and the MagSafe adapter falls on the ground. over and over and over. And since then, I have gotten more used to it, but as you pick up the phone, you need to push the magnetic charger off or down, and it falls off onto your nightstand, and then you have your phone independently. Now, having a MagSafe charger like this is quite handy because you can use the phone while it's charging wirelessly, but that does require a longer cable than this one, or maybe a cable extension. This is plugged into my wall, and this barely reaches on the nightstand, so it's kind of like this awkward tug of war situation I got going on. Your mileage will vary. I'm honestly more excited about the accessories MagSafe is going to provide through the wallet and through car mounts than I am about the wireless charging on your nightstand. I mean, this is nice, but it's also very precise. Like if I'm just a little bit off on this thing, it's not magnetically attaching to my phone. So I've had a few nights where I've had to search for a good bit of time trying to get it to magnetically attach. Because like right here, none of this is working. You have to get it right on. There it is. Now the A14 Bionic is obviously a nice upgrade from the A13 Bionic and the 11 Pro Max here, but let's face it, they're so close in performance and they both have such good performance, it's hard to notice an improvement at all. Of course, the A14 Bionic allows you to be a little more future-proof, gives you a few more features. Now I did test the durability of the ceramic shield on the front in an iPhone 12 drop test in a separate video. If you want to check out that video, I'll have a link at the end of this one, or a link in the description down below. But overall, I've been impressed with the durability of this device. I do not see any wear and tear or scratches on it. Yeah, and I haven't dropped this on anything hard yet. I'm sure I will accidentally drop it soon though. Now reception and call quality has been excellent. Absolutely no complaints for me whatsoever. Now obviously being the 12 Pro Max, we do have 5G capability, but sadly in the Portland area we do not have any 5G millimeter wave towers that I am aware of, so I can't even test it whatsoever. Now do not be fooled by a bunch of these companies saying that they have 5G, when in reality it's just another extension of 4G LTE. I think it's really important to understand that there are multiple types of 5G. You have the low band 5G like what AT&T and T-Mobile are doing. It's basically just 4G LTE. And then you have mid-band 5G, and then you have 5G Ultra. This is the true 5G speeds that are much quicker but have a much shorter range than 4G LTE. My iPhone 11 Pro Max can do 5G-E on AT&T, and it doesn't even have a 5G antenna in it, so it's clearly not 5G at all. I really wish these companies would lay off calling stuff 5G when it's just rebranded 4G LTE.
Okay, so starting off with our camera test, we have the 4K HDR 60 frames per second between the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max. This is an ultra low light scenario, and the detail on the 12 Pro Max is just a little bit better. The ISO is a little bit cleaner. You can see in the details around Darren's face, you can make out his eyeballs a little bit better, for example. Now, in the low light photography, I did night mode shots quite a lot, and I noticed with the 12 Pro Max, it was frequently only a 1 or 2 second timer versus the iPhone 12 Pro's 2 or 3 second timer, so you have 1 second extra. Now here's an example of actually taking one of those night shots, and this shows you how much better the sensor shift technology is when capturing this detail. You can see the little X in the middle. This indicates how close you are to being perfectly stabilized during the 3 second exposure, and it's just easier to maintain a perfect nighttime shot with the sensor shift technology. And here you can see in the final details, especially if you notice the Into the AM logo at the top, there's quite a lot more detail up here. Well, now I did do a lot of testing with the HDR video versus turning it off and on, and I gotta say, with HDR on, you can notice there's a lot more poppy colors around the blues on the beanbags, especially like kind of like the white highlighting. And the overall image, I think, definitely looks better with HDR. Just it's more usable, more dynamic image. That said, you do lose some of the details, definitely, and especially around the highlights. I think the HDR image tends to overexpose a little bit, but overall, I still like the HDR video mode a lot, and I think it's a great generalized improvement with more dynamic range visible. Now for video modes, I'm really impressed overall. I love shooting videos of the dogs with these cameras. You got the wide camera, the ultra wide, and the telephoto. It gives you just a lot of flexibility when you're trying to shoot like a dynamically moving target. Now you can tap between the zoom ranges like I did just there, or you can grab the zoom and slide it up and down for more gradual shifts in and out of the zoom range. though there is slight jumps every time it switches between a lens. You'll notice kind of like a little jitter as it switches between lenses, but overall it's still a very smooth zoom transition, and I really just love the video that we're getting here. It's just really high quality video, and it's very stabilized. So right here I'm walking, I'm holding the camera handheld, and the video is still fairly stable. So I'm really impressed overall with the video stabilization. And that's the thing, like the iPhone 12 Pro Max is just going to be the most versatile of the iPhones because you've got that bigger zoom capability, allowing you to have more dynamic shots and more focal lengths to play around with. And then in addition, low light video like this of the dogs in this fairly dark environment, it's going to be just a little bit better than the other iPhones. It's a very small difference, but it's still a difference. Now, I'm going to go ahead. This is me asking if they're hungry, and then they get all excited. I just love this. I love doing this every night, just asking them if they're hungry, and then they get super excited. I just love it. My heart melts. It's just so cute. Overall, I'm loving the video on the 12 Pro Max. Now that said, the images coming from the 12 Pro Max are not perfect. I ran into some yellowish, overly tan-ish skin tones at times. I think this is because of the blue backlighting. And even in video mode with HDR on, 4K 60 frames per second, we still have the yellowish skin tones. And here we have a bunch of images in my living room. This sequence is taken mostly from a similar focal distance, playing around with the different zooms of the camera. I think this goes to show you with the 3 camera setup, you have just a lot more flexibility to play around and be creative compared to only having 1 or 2 focal lengths on a smartphone. So I really love the fact that we have 3 cameras here, and the different focal lengths allows you to really get a different type of shot, as you can see by those last 3 images. Those are taken from roughly the same focal distance. So in summary, the 12 Pro Max has better low light photography and videography, I'd say by about 1 stop, but that's only going to be really apparent in the ultra low light, like when it's almost too dark to see with the human eye, which is honestly not going to happen that often. And I do love the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max's HDR video mode. It definitely yields a poppier, more usable image for general use videography. And the nice thing about it is that it's something you just turn on in the background and it just works. So if you're someone that does a lot of video recording, the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max with the HDR video modes is going to be a nice upgrade for your video quality, in my opinion.
So do I recommend buying the iPhone 12 Pro Max? Obviously, this is the best iPhone Apple has ever made. It's got a massive display, a great set of cameras, the best video capturing smartphone on the planet, the fastest processor in any smartphone. This thing is an amazing smartphone, but is it worth the additional cost over the iPhone 12 or 12 Pro? And that's where you get me, because I look at the iPhone 12 and I see that it has like 95% of the same features, and it's a little bit smaller, making it honestly ergonomically much easier to use. And I go, you save money, it's got almost the exact same internals, it's got almost the exact same camera quality. So basically, if you're on a budget, consider the 12 or 12 Pro, because you're gonna save some money and have essentially the same feature set. But if you love having a massive phone, or you want the absolute best camera quality possible and you don't mind paying a premium, then the 12 Pro Max is definitely the phone for you. So that's it for my review of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. If you like this video, be sure to smash that like button. If you want to see more of my videos in the future, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell to all. I'll see you in the next one. Brandon out. Watch out.